Pasha Paro, YNet7. Thank you for tuning. Got Trish McCabe back in the building. Say what's up, Trish.
Hey, folks. Hello.
Always a perfect day. So
Always a perfect day.
me and Trish was talking and about the video we just did on I just did the other day on standing the Sue. And if you haven't already checked it out, feel free to go ahead, tune into that one at your leisure in the future. So we got to talking about equality, and that spurred an idea in my mind. I was like, Trish, you got to come on and let's have a conversation about this. And we're going to title it The Fall of Humanity into Equality. And that's a crazy title if you think about it. But what I want to do first is let's look at what equality means. And this is part of Black's Law Dictionary. It's not an opinion. This is what the law says equality means. The condition of possessing substantially the same rights, privileges, and immunities, and being liable to substantially the same duties. Now, what we're going to do here differently this time is, I know a lot of our other formats, we just run them out. We just run them out. We might be on here discussing it for hours. Now, I'm gonna revamp the service, maybe a different platform or something. But now we're gonna consolidate to maybe a 30 to 40-minute window and have this discussion. So I got the timer going.
Okay.
That way the audience can, have a time set in their mind how long. So all right, with that on the table, we reviewed the definition there. Tell me what equality is to you, Trish.
Well, to me, I feel everyone is born equal. Everyone was given this planet for free.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I really like Trish, because you guys know I'm like a computer and I'm all like equations input that, and then Trish has the emotional elements that, combined, that's going to give you guys in the audience a great perspective and diversity of thoughts and ideas based on the topic, right? So the earth is free. And that's kind of like what I got to when I was talking about the rise of automation is going to have the cost of everything being or racing to a 0 point. So when the computer and robots take over and can send the computer can send the robot out into the field to grow the little plant the seed, grow the crop, tend the crop, pluck the crop, put the crop into a self-driving truck that then drives it to the processing plant that's all automated, that processes it all by itself, and then puts it into another self-driving truck that delivers it to either to a grocery store, if there is such a thing at that time, or directly to you at home. The cost of production and the human investment of time and energy is going to be zero. So everything will basically come to no cost. If you want a Porsche, you can order a Porsche because it costs nothing, just like an Apple would at that time, right? Because everything ultimately is because all of the resources it takes to manufacture any of that stuff comes from the earth, which is already here, and we're part of the earth, and we're all connected, we're all free. Everything's supposed to be free, right? In theory. Tie that part into the conversation.
My concern with that is who's running the robots, who's
Right,
providing
right.
the money, who's providing the resources for the robots. I know a lot of automated things take copper, minerals, and various things to run these machines. So who has control over those is what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, I can see that part of the thought process. As far as it being relative to the equality factor, I think that part of it, the discussion,
Maybe some other time.
it's right, but
Maybe it doesn't fly.
Since you brought it up, I will say that in that world, money won't matter because the robots aren't going to need money. The automated cyborgs and computers, they're not going to need money. If they need copper, they're going to go send a drone up in the air with the little ground penetrating radar and scan the ground, find a new copper source and go mine it with their little automated bots and drones. And then they're going to build it. There's not going to be any money. There won't be no need for it. So what'll happen in that world though, and that's what this conversation is about, is the differences in humanity, right? Which a lot of our differences are really centered around what they call money or currency, right?
Right.
In different ways, indirectly and directly. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. So once we get to a point in society where we completely eliminate the concept of money, that will be a time where humanity will either be the closest or for the first time, if not a repeat in history that we don't know about, truly everyone will be equal. What's your thought on that as a high level overview?
Well, what comes to me first is how things are now. I just feel like we're already sharing the planet. We're interdependent, but acting like we're not. If we were not interdependent in our current setup, you would need the working class to keep the economy going. So the way I see it is people actually living out of that truth and valuing what every person brings to the table and their importance of that. Because it's like that. It takes a village, right? What does that mean? It takes a village. It means we need one another. Yet it's this weird thing, like we're afraid to trust that truth or something. So I think it would be amazing to actually. I feel that that's what John Lennon was talking about in the song Imagine.
And for those that don't know,
Imagine all the
explain
people
Imagine.
sharing all the world, because we are in fact doing that. We have wars in other countries, and when there's issues, we'll sanction them, which means we won't give what they need to survive, which is in fact brings the truth to the table of interdependence. All these countries have different resources that the world needs, the world of people needs. And to actually live out of that truth and act out of it, I think it would just be astoundingly amazing to
Right.
live from the truth of our collectiveness. Like if we got attacked by Mars, would we not all be Earthlings? Suddenly we'd all be Earthlings,
I
protecting
president.
our homeland, right?
I president. Who was that? Reagan, right? Was that
Oh,
Reagan?
Reagan, right.
Yeah. Look, the natural. So people are, and that's a good point too, because I mean that's Project Bluebeam, all that good stuff is connected, but those are different conversations.
But it's an example of
Yeah,
why do we see it as our planet in that context and not in every other area,
when you have it, it goes back to that point you hear me make often. When a body agrees on a destination, it makes it easier to overcome all obstacles. They keep everybody divided for various reasons. They all got their own little independent destinations and goals. So that's why it's a splintering effect. But as you stated, a situation like that where it's the whole world is at stake, at risk, everybody will all of a sudden, like that speech goes, cast aside their differences. And I mean, we should play that one day. Let's get that clip and put it
Well,
on our Facebook.
ultimately, what we're doing is acting like what one person doesn't affect the whole. If that were true, how did someone get a virus on one end of the planet and spread it to the whole entire world? It's a perfect analogy on use, like I shared a meme, I'll make this real quick, that someone was showing a picture of a cup, a paper cup, and it
Mhm.
said, but I'm just one person. Then it showed a pile of cups of garbage. What
Mm.
one person does actually does affect the whole, but we're
Yeah,
not living out of that truth. Um, why do people argue? Because what one person does is going to affect them.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we
There
have
was a
to
coffee
start
shop that did
looking
that
at
too.
that truth of how what we all do affects one another. How's it going to affect the whole? What's going to be the outcome for all of us? Because we are all, in fact, living on this planet. So I'll stop there.
Nah, you good. There was a coffee shop that did that same display as well. They what they did was they took and had all the cups thrown on the floor instead of like thrown into the trash for a certain period of time, and they allowed their customers to see how much just that one store impact makes on, you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
makes a difference. So now people are unequal, quote unquote, in so many ways. Natural talent, health, attitudes, interests, preferences, right?
Right.
How do you see the elimination of the monetary divide, the haves and have nots being eliminated, potentially affecting those points right there? Natural talent, health, attributes, interests, preferences.
Those things to me are very ego related.
Mhm.
The dark side of the ego, the narcissistic side of the ego that wants to be superior over another for
Mhm.
any given reason. Money, money is a tool. It can be used for good and it can be used for bad. So, but if it can be used for bad, um, we've got to start looking at that. So, if we remove that, will it keep people from? Uh, to think about that one. Well, what we have right now is a small group of people. Well, people that have more power than others because they have more money, they have more opportunities and things like that. So
Influence.
influence and all that. If all that was taken out, I think there'd be a lot less people trying to prove their value for one
Mm.
thing.
Say
If
that a different way. Say that a different way.
well,
A lot less people
if
try
you're
to prove their
using
value. Say
money
that a
to
different way.
determine your status or your level of class, um, then everybody gets to be treated the same and valued the same. Because if we really get truthful, what is the ultimate currency that we have? It's human life. It's the time we get to spend here, the gift of life. I saw a video of David Bowie not long ago. I was watching it. This guy said, "Who do you worship?" And he said, "I worship life."
Mm.
And right now, I don't feel we're doing that. I think we
So
take money out of the equation. We could actually focus on enjoying our time on the planet while we still can.
yes, so we say that a different way, right? How about the phrase that I would twist it into would be a lot more people would know their value or recognize their value. What's
Because we would be coming from an all inclusive system that doesn't exclude anyone.
right,
You know, what a concept.
right? Because the beauty is when you look into situations like zeitgeist and stuff like that, where they speak about potential worlds of this type of caliber. Uh the main point that I found fascinating, right, was but true, is that even if you take money out of the or currency out of the equation as a factor, people are still only going to want what they particularly want. Like right now, everybody don't want a Porsche. Everybody don't want a Lamborghini. There's still people out there with $100 billion that are riding around in Toyotas, right?
Right.
Because what they value, the Toyota brings them that the Lamborghini wouldn't. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you take money out of the equation, you're still gonna have people that want, like, everybody's not gonna all of a sudden everybody's just not gonna drive Lamborghinis. You know what I mean? Like you're still gonna have people that just want the little Porsche or the scooter. You know what I mean? There's still gonna be an opportunity for everything to be consumed and produced.
Right. Um, I just I see a lot of people saying they want freedom while they're trying to tell other people what to do. How can you say you want freedom while you're trying to tell somebody how you think what car they should be driving or anything else? Freedom, if you don't want it for another person, then you actually don't really want it, is how I feel. Like, if you truly want freedom, then why wouldn't you want it for another person? I mean, so that goes back to, if laws affect everyone, however you put them out there,
Yeah.
just
So I got this site for us. Here, take a look at this. This will help you out. I want to hear some of your thoughts on these, right? Because we're looking at, like you were saying, people are trying to tell people to be free, but then they're trying to impose, like you said, sanctions and restrictions on their life. They want to tell you have the freedom to the American dream, but then they want to tell you that, oh, unless you hit the lottery or win, become build a Microsoft or something, like you don't have the freedom to do whatever you want in life because you don't have the income or the revenue or the cash flow or the currency flow to support being a totally creative individual. See, because you're limited by what your purchasing power, whatever it is. So on this site here, this is Stanford Center on Poverty and Inequality. When we're talking about the fall of humanity into equality, this by default would be what we're talking about would be being erased or definitely affected by all of a sudden if everybody woke up tomorrow with true equality. So the first one is wage inequality. I know you got some stuff to say about that.
quality. Well, the truth that I stand in for just myself is, bottom line, nobody has a right to tell another person what their value is, what their
Mm,
station in life is, and what they're deserving of. No one. So if
okay,
you say you don't want that imposed on you, why would you think it's okay to impose it on someone else? That's
exactly.
an oxymoron, and it's never going to work. If you're not including everybody in the equation, what's that about? Why? I just see so many people making commentary about life choices of someone else that's not directing them, that's not affecting them. Why would you care about what they're doing, with who they're deciding to be with, or what their choice to do is in life, when it's not affecting you?
Yeah, and
You know what
then
I mean? There's a lot of that going on. It's like, it's very it's like, could you imagine? I think the even the playing field will allow people to just focus on themselves.
right, because right now the world is focused on productivity. And if you look at the chart, I should have pulled that chart up, but productivity and compensation and wages used to be like a
Mhm.
nice woven line, like almost like a thread woven together going up the chart. And then in the 70s, it did a fork in the road where wages basically flatlined from like 79 to present, while productivity and wages and compensation, excuse me, flatline, and productivity is up by like 80%. So they found more and more ways to increase productivity and make more and then translate less of it to the actual people producing it. And that's where wage inequality is really being exploited, because the people doing all the work get the least amount of the pie, right?
Yes.
You got the CEO pay here listed on here. So they're at the top
They're not
making
being
hundreds of millions of
valued.
dollars, and the people
Yeah.
at the bottom are making,
But they're not
$10
even,
an
not
hour.
only are they not paying them, but they're not being valued. They're
So,
speaking of them as the lower on the totem pole,
yeah. What
the
about
class
homelessness?
model. And it's like without the working class, if that's what you want to call it, I mean, there'd be no economy. You can't have a functioning economy without the working class.
And
So
that's
what
where
does that
automation
mean?
going to change
The
that.
world needs us. So why are we being treated like we're not needed? I don't understand that part. Um,
Yeah,
I
that's
speak to
that's where
this because I've
automation
been
going to change
working.
that. What do you think?
Yes. I've been working since I was 15 years old. And people say, well, you got to save your money and all that. But if you don't get paid a living wage and the inflation keeps going up, how are you going to save any money? When you're already working 40 to 50 to 60 hours a week, you don't get to spend time with your children. You don't get to spend time with your husband. You don't have time to do the things you love and enjoy. You take that out, what do I see? Life enjoyment
Mm.
for everyone.
So
And
speak
why
on
is it
equality
that
and
we want
homelessness,
that for other
Trish.
people? What's that?
Speak on equality and homelessness.
Well, some months ago, a friend said, they're not homeless because it's not always because they've had financial hardship, because the only time they can live their life on their own terms. Many people are homeless because they don't want to be told what to do anymore by people that aren't in their lives. They're being puppeteered and controlled and being told what responsible is and what success is. You have to be this, like I see people say, if you work at McDonald's, you're a loser. What the hell? There's something very wrong with that. You think you can talk to another human being as though they have less value than another person, when that's simply not true. It's just, so the homeless thing, many people are homeless because they just want to live their life on their own terms, and it's really the only way they can, sadly.
Yeah, I seen a little skit when I was scrolling through Facebook or YouTube or one of them one day, and the comedian was like, "Man, when I was a kid, I used to look and be like, wow, why is there so many homeless people?" And he said he didn't understand the concept or whatever when he got older. As we're coming up on 10 minutes left, as he got older, he started to realize, oh, you gotta go to work and pay these bills every month, and this is what they cost, and this is what a mortgage costs. And so then he said, wow, now that I'm older, I'd be like, why isn't there more homeless people? All right, so look, education. Education's on the screen right now. Trish, tell them about education. How's the equality gonna change that dynamic?
Well, our educational system, you know, has certain jobs that make more money than other jobs per se in the career sense of things, like being a doctor or a lawyer or a banker or but what if you don't want to do those things? So that's the only way you can be financially successful. And then there's the truth of um if you can't, what if you don't want to do those things? What if you want to be an artist or other things that, in other words, if somebody else can tell you what success is, it's a lie, because success is living your life on your own terms, regardless of how much education you have or don't. My grandfather didn't get past the 8th grade and ended up in the Boxing Hall of Fame twice because he had people skills and he had a vision and he had a dream. I think that our education system could afford a revamp in teaching people to dream and go
Yeah,
for what they really want, not someone else's idea of what success is. Success is living the way you want to live, not someone
yeah.
else's idea of it.
And you being an artist as well, you really touched on, you really broke ground on more than what you may have realized, because even in the art world, certain art worlds, you have a control factor, because when the money comes into play, it's, oh, you got to do it this way or else you'll never sell, instead of people being able to be free to create, and just make what who they are. They're changing themselves so they can fit in, so they can sell a record instead of being authentic to themselves. So what about gender pay gaps? How's that? That's kind of in the wage group, but talk on that for a couple seconds and we'll move on.
Excuse me. I've had allergies going on today.
Look, she's alert. You're allergic to the gender pay gap. See, that said it all right there. Like, oh, I'm allergic to that shit.
I don't see what it matters. Why does it matter? Why does it matter what sex someone is and what they decide what sex they want to be? You love who you love. Love is love. Love doesn't have restrictions on it.
Yeah.
Rules. Love is love. You love someone and you want them to be happy, regardless of what they choose for themselves, as far as their sexuality, who they want to be with romantically, or anything else in between.
I thought this one here was pretty interesting too. The gender occupation.
Yeah. The gender. Okay, give me, what do you mean by the gender occupation?
So on the screen here, I got where it's like percentage of jobs held by women and percentage of jobs held by men. So for those that, I know it may be a little hard for everybody to see, or make it a little bigger for you. So the blue is the percentage of jobs held by men, and then the red is percentage of jobs held by women. And then at the top, they got like cleaners / servants. Here on the left, top left, textile sewing machine operators, childcare workers, receptionists, preschools, secretaries, nurses, auto mechanic, all this different stuff here. And it gives a little divide or ratio of the job title and the gender, working that position. So that's another way that equality is inequality right now, right?
Yes, right. Suggesting it matters. Why does it matter? Why does it matter what gender you are?
Can you perform the job?
It's another
right?
form of separating people from each other. Whether you're a male or a female, you're human. No matter what, whatever gender you want to call yourself or not call yourself, you're still a human being in the end.
True. How you think this affects the here number 7, racial gaps in education?
I don't like anything that excludes anybody in any way, shape, or form. It's abuse. I don't believe in race. First of all, for me, it doesn't matter. I've never cared about it. I still don't care about it, and I won't till my grave. Like, I give everybody a fair shake, regardless of their color of skin, their age, their sex, their whatever.
And that ties into
These
like the
things move
discrimination.
away from our humanness, our humanness.
Look at this one, Trish. Child poverty.
Oh, I have a lot to say on that one.
Speak on it.
Well, we have a world of trillionaires while there's kids starving to death. Tell me how that makes sense. Tell me how that's accepted. I saw a thing, people, they blame God for the plight of the world. You know, we should be asking ourselves that. Why do we allow such suffering? God is God is going to do what God is going to do. What are we doing? What are we allowing? Poverty for children? What the heck? There's something very wrong with that when there's more than enough resources to go around. And no child should ever be poor.
I like it.
It's unloving, it's unkind, and it's abuse. To allow it even.
So this one, number 10 here says, we all know that the rich in the United States tend not to live in the same neighborhoods as the poor, but did you know that such residential segregation is on the rise?
Right. Why would that occur? Do they think that anyone's going to like being segregated and put in the lower wrong side of the tracks? Talk about devaluing. You're speaking my language.
Hey,
I grew up in the ghetto. I was one of the few white people in the ghetto. So we grew up in Orange County, very wealthy county, where we were treated like second class, lower class citizens, because how dare we be white and be poor? And meanwhile, the minorities, which is crap, sorry, but they were resentful of us too. So we couldn't win no matter what we did.
Health insurance.
Well, the first thing that comes to me is Hippocratic oath. Do no harm. Do no harm.
Yeah,
Yet
by
I
not
was just
helping.
on the phone talking with a friend of mine who had a very bad case of appendicitis. It had perforated. He was told by the ambulance he could die at any given moment. Two hospitals turned him away. The last one put him in a gurney in the hallway. The way he got out of it, he screamed bloody murder. If you do not come and help me, believe me, my mom knows I'm here and she's going to file a lawsuit on you. Suddenly everything changed.
And
Suddenly everything was paid for.
that was kind of the topic of the indirect topic when we reviewed that court case, Simon versus West Kentucky
It's the first thing
welfare.
that came to my mind
And
was what happened to my friend. And if that was 30 years ago, how we, when money is more important than helping a person, I just,
yeah.
there's something wrong with that
So we
to
got a
me.
little over 6 minutes. So um intergenerational income mobility. I think this is huge and it will change a lot. This is that generational wealth comment that everybody knows statement.
The acquisition of wealth is obtained by the working class.
Mm.
You can be wealthy without us. All of our markets are created by how people spend their money. So what does that
Bad
mean?
jobs are
And jobs,
typically,
yes.
well, this one say bad jobs. Bad
So why are
jobs
we treated like we're
are
not valued
typically.
when we're the very foundation for which wealth is acquired?
So look, this one says bad jobs are typically considered those who pay low wages and do not include access to health insurance and pension benefits, which directly affects the generational wealth transfer.
Yes.
So we got a
How
lot of
can
that going
someone
on.
fend for their children if they can't even fend for themselves? Thus creating a perpetual cycle of poverty.
So look, what I'm gonna do is there's like 6 more. I'm just gonna run through these topics real quick. You got
Okay.
discouraged workers, you got wealth inequality, which we kind of spoke on a lot. Some more of the intergenerational income mobility charts. We got deregulation of the labor market, big one. Job losses, immigrants and inequality, and incarceration issues. So what I wanted to do is with that is to showcase when people think about equality, they feel like it exists. But I wanted to take this time to show how much inequality there actually is. And I appreciate Trish today helping me out with that. And once we eliminate what enables that, which is the monetary source, right? It empowers the fact that there's haves and have nots. It empowers the rich being able to say, we don't want you in our neighborhood. It empowers this, it empowers that, it makes all of that stuff possible. So once everybody's on a flat, even playing field where if you want a mansion, you can just have one because the robot's going to pull up and 3D print it for you and it don't matter. Now, the people that have their nose up in the air, stuck in the sky clouds, thinking they're better than everybody, are going to be probably jumping out the window committing suicide because the people that they've been frowning upon their whole life will now be truly equal as them. Give me some closing remarks on this, Trish.
I hope not. I hope that they don't jump out the window. I hope that they realize it's a gift, that they could just relax and enjoy living for the sake of living for all
That's
living
powerful.
creatures on the planet. I hope not. Hope they don't.
That's
What a waste
powerful.
that would be. Why? We're all beautiful creatures. God gave us life. What's wrong with living out of that truth forever?
Exactly. And the way I see it, I've discussed this in the past, is what the monetary system does, and combined with the way society is set up, is it having to go to work and pay bills, right? It kills the next Picasso, the next Mozart, it kills all of them before they even get a chance to know they are them. Because, like you said, you gotta go get a job. Mom's putting you out at 18 because you're off her insurance. She can't afford you, and you gotta go get your own place. All this family spending all this money on all these different residences. You know what I mean? Because they want to be status quo and not feel like people are talking about them. That's really the only reason why a family of 8 people have 8 different houses and apartments, is because, oh, they're going to talk about us if we all live together, right? So they're spending 10 times as much. Anyway, the point of the matter is they're put out there into the world. They're having to pay their bills. Many people are never getting the opportunity to identify their true creative selves and spiritual selves, and they're living their whole life that way. So we're losing it and destroying our creative, excellent, noble, and splendid, are proud in our
The human
communities.
spirit,
Yeah,
human
yeah,
spirit.
destroying the human spirit.
Yes.
So the one rose in the concrete parking lot, as long as we can avoid the massive corruption and potential enslavement it brings, if everything becomes automated and all costs go to zero, is it puts humanity in a position to be totally focused again on their creativity and their spirituality, whatever that is, or religion for each person. Uh, and that's it. So I appreciate your time today, Trish.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
Yeah, always the perfect day. Thank you for tuning in. YNS7. Enjoy.